Hey guys, my name is Rohit Singh and I welcome you all to my channel Developer Geeks Hub. Well, the current playlist that you are viewing now is on the topic of Android and Android development. The previous video it was on topic of basics of Android where we saw the framework and how the activities work. If you want to view that video, you can click on the I button which is popping right now. Well, the objective of this video is to explore more on the IDE called Android Studio, and then we will build our first mobile application of a hello world. Well, Android Studio is an official integrated development environment for Google's Android operating system. Well, it is developed by JetBrains, it's a company, right? And it can be run in multiple operating systems like Windows, Mac OS and Linux based operating system. Well, to download this software, the link is down in the description for your particular operating system. You can view the video and you can download in your operating or in your PC. Well, this playlist will help you to build applications with different designs from beginner to expert, and you can also earn a lot of money by publishing it in Play Store. Well, one of the very important topic that we come across when it comes to Android is the word called gradle. Gradle is something which helps us, or you can say it's a middle way which helps us in building or automating the Android app, right? You can see the image down here which signifies two different task graph, right? The left one is a generic task graph and the right one is a partial task graph. When it comes to task, there are only three terms. One is action, then is input, and then is the output. Action is something that the work which happens in the input and the resultant is the output. Well, the framework of this whole task is managed by the Gradle, which is run by JVM, that is nothing but Java Virtual Machine, and there is something called as JDK, that is Java Development Kit, which you have to install, or what happens is that when you install the Android Studio, it will automatically be installed in your software itself. Now comes some basics of Java. Well, Java is a pure object-oriented programming language. It means you can create a class or a blueprint, and within which you can create an object of that particular class. Well, making an Android app is so easy, but making a real world app with security and all with Android is not only making an app, but it's something more than that. When you come to know about the core concept of Android, you have to understand those concepts properly. For learning those core concepts, you need to understand the OOP concept, that is object oriented programming. Well, the object oriented programming can be categorized or can be classified into four different concepts. One is encapsulation. Encapsulation is basically wrapping up of data and function or method into a single unit. Basically, a class can have its own individual data type like int, string, array, character, etc. And it can also have something called as functions, or we say member functions. Those two things are wrapped inside a capsule. That's the reason we call as encapsulation. Then comes the abstraction. Abstraction is basically a way to hide the non-essential information, or we can say to show the essential ones. It helps us in security purposes. We often use Java in banking sectors where we have to hide the information. Then comes the inheritance. Basically, in English, inheritance means to extract the property from your ancestors. Well, the same meaning is in the object-oriented programming. Well, you inherit the properties from the base class, or we can also call it as a parent class. Then comes the polymorphism. Poly means more than two. It means that you can have a same name more than twice, but if you have to reduce or you have to neglect the ambiguity, but it should perform different tasks. So this is what the object oriented programming is all about. Now we will jump into the screen for Android Studio and learn what are the different modules and why it is called as IDE. Well, you can see in this picture that this is basically the environment or the interface of Android Studio. You can see 6 different categories, starting with the first one, that is the toolbar. It has a wide range of actions which basically performs to run the application or to cut or paste. Second one is the notification or the navigation bar. It helps us to navigate from one project file to another project file, and it also helps you to know that at which current project file you are working on. The third and the most important one is the editor window, in which you will write or you modify your code depending upon the current particular file that you will view in the navigation bar. Then comes the toolbar. Toolbar runs around outside of the IDE, which is in the left side, and contains the button that allow you to expand or collapse individual tool window. You can see there are multiple things written in. One is structure, one is the project. So if you click that, it will collapse the window. Then comes the fifth one, that is the tool window, which gives us a specific task. You can see in the fifth one, right? And the last and the second important thing is the status bar, or basically it tells us or it gives the errors or the warnings or the important message that we have to make sure when we are writing the code. So these 6 important different layouts or the different integration, that's the reason, guys, it is called as integrated development, because every single thing, starting from the toolbar, starting from the editor, the message container, or the project folders, are all in one application or one software. Now we will see how the projects or the project files, right, or the directories are named, the organization of the folders, right? Hey guys, welcome to Android Studio. Now basically this whole integrated development environment is categorized into different modules that I've explained you in the presentation itself. Now we will see the practical view. This whole thing in the above is called as the toolbar, right, which helps us in editing. Now then comes the navigation bar, which tells you or navigates you that where is your current present or where are you currently present, and it also helps you to play and build the application. Well, currently now we are in the Android. There are multiple directories like project, package, project files, right? Now currently we are in the Android file. The first one that you can see is the manifestation file, right? Manifestation file basically tells you that how many pages are there in your current project and helps you to navigate from one project to another project, and basically of the whole project. This manifests is, or it you can say it controls the whole application or the whole project, right? Then comes the Java part, right? In this Java part, all these pages, all these logical pages, I would say, because you will use the Java programming language here, and you can see the extension that is .java, right? Now then comes the RES, that is resource file. The resource file's first file is that the drawable folder, right? What you do in a drawable folder is that you will have images and the text or the XML part, right? This is basically for the designing. Well, now comes the font. We can use different fonts, and we can plug in that fonts into this font directory. Now comes the layout. Well, every application or every page has two parts. One is the XML, that is the designing part, and one is the logical part, right? If I give you an example, suppose this, I have opened the main activity, and this main activity is Java file. So this is the designing part, right? This is basically the layout or the parent layout, right? And these are all the attributes and description of that particular parent layout. And you can see I have given this layout, the parent layout, parent layout's context as the main activity, that is the logical part. And here I have mentioned that this logical part should have a layout called activity main, right? And within that we can see that image, right, text view. So these are all the elements that we use to enhance the application. Now comes the menu. Menu is basically, like you can see in the top right corner of your applications, a 3-line thing, right? So these are the menu, to pop the menu bar, right? Then comes the MIP map, which basically means that the icon of your app will contain in this folder or the directory. Then comes the raw, right? Raw will have the JSON files or the MP4 or the video files within this application, within this directory. Then comes the important one, that is the value, right? The colors that you can add or customize will be stored in this particular XML. Then comes the string, right? You can have different kind of string values of different ID, or the name, right? Basically no two string value can have a same name, which will create an ambiguity. Then comes the theme. The theme can be of a dark theme or a light theme according to your phone, right? So if there is the dark theme, it will enable this particular, or the light, if it's the light theme, then it will enable this particular directory. Now comes the gradle. I hope you know the gradle, what is gradle in the previous presentation, and this is the basic gradle setting, right? You can see the dependencies. These are all different dependencies or libraries. Libraries are basically like a library, right, where you get a book for yourself. So how you get a book? By writing your name, writing the author's name, right, or the date or signature. So this is how you can, if you have to get a external library, right, so you have to plug in its dependency within this build gradle folder, right? What it will do is that it acts as an adapter between that external library and your project. Well, this is all about the resources of Android Studio. Now we will see how the layouts work. Well, there are number of layouts provided by Android, which you will use in almost all the Android application to provide different view, look and feel. Well, basically there are 7 different kinds of layout, starting with a linear layout. A linear layout is a parent-child relationship, right? Whenever you write or you code or you add an attribute within that linear layout, it basically arranges itself in vertical order or in horizontal order. So this is what the game is behind linear layout. Then after it comes the relative layout. That is one of the popular layout we often use, which what basically it does is that it has a relative relationship between all the elements within it. You can you can arrange the elements that it should be in the left side of that, or it should be above or below. So it is relative to each other. Then comes the table layout. You can create a table of rows and columns. Then the absolute layout. Absolute basically enables you to specify the exact location of its child that is within itself. Then comes the frame layout. I hope you have used WhatsApp, right? So WhatsApp has 3 frames, right, in which you can slide. Then comes the list view, which is a scrollable display. When you scroll your chats, that is a list view. Then comes the grid view. A grid view is basically a 2-dimensional scrollable view, like example of a Flipkart, right? You can see there are grids, there are boxes, right, which you can scroll. Well, there are many attributes and descriptions within it. You have to specify a particular ID. You have to specify the width and the height. You have to specify the margin, you have to specify the padding, right? You will view everything when we come to the practical one. Now comes, how can you define the width or the height of a particular attribute or an element? Basically, you can wrap the content, you can give the layout, like suppose if you are packing a gift, right? You have to wrap the gift sheet with a particular surface area, right? So that is called as wrapping content. Then after it comes the filled parent. So the parent that is within which the child is, it will fill that parent, or we also use match parent. Both will do the same work, right? Now we will see what are the different kinds of elements that are used in our Android Studio or to make a layout beautiful. Well, the first one comes the text view, where it helps you to control your displayed text. You can add your paragraph, you can add your headings, right? And within this, it comes its particular attribute, like you can write the particular text size or the text color or the text font, right? This is called as the element, and within that, right, within that we call it as a attribute or a description. Then comes the edit text. You might have seen in login page, right? You edit something, you write something where the user have to give an input. Then comes the autocomplete text view. Basically it helps in like suppose if you write in edit text like IND, then India will give you in the suggestion. So it is something like that. Then comes the button. You push a button or you long press a button. Then comes the image button, where you can create a particular image as workable as a button. Then comes the checkbox, where you can tick or you can select a particular attribute. Then comes the toggle button. Toggle button is basically for on and off. Then comes the radio button. Radio button is basically like you can like a gender, right? You can only check one thing. Then comes the radio group. Basically they work as a similar thing, but there are few changes in their particular attributes. Then comes the progress bar. When you log in into an application, there is a progress bar, right, from 0 to 10, 100%. So there's different kind of progress bar. One can be circular, one can be in a linear fashion, right? Then after comes the spinner. It is basically a drop down list, right? If I give an example, basically we see all this thing in a form. When we fill a form, right, if you click that, you will get multiple menu options, right? Then comes the time picker and the date picker, which helps you to pick a date and a time. When you click on the date picker thing, it will flash a calendar, right? And when you click the time picker thing, it will flash you a clock, right? So these are the elements which helps the application more interactive, right? And these are the basis, or we can say these are the child for the layout that we saw in the previous one. Well, now we will see what are the different kinds of event handling. Basically, events are a useful way to collect data about a user's interaction with the interactive components of application, right? If I give an example like button press or screen touch, etc., right? The Android framework maintains an unique queue, right? That is first in, first out basis, right? Well, we will see now some of the event handlers. The famous event handlers are like on click, like what you have to do when the person clicks on this button, what happens when the person long clicks on the button, or what happens if the person touches something. So these are some of the predefined function that we use to make the application more interactive, right? And now comes the most important thing, that is how and what is build. Basically, how you can build an application, right? Basically, the build process involves many tools and processes that converts your project, that all the coding part, into an application that we call as APK, Android Application Package, or we often use ABP, that is Android App Bundle. APK is a little different with ABB. When you have to publish your application in the Play Store, we often upload the AAB file. Then if you have to install the application, you will install it in the format of APK. Well, the build process is very flexible, so it's useful to understand some of what is happening under the hood. Now we will jump into the Android Studio and will build our first mobile application. Well guys, this is how you can create a new project by clicking the button. Then you have to select an empty activity and you have to name that application like my first app, right? So it will build the Gradle, which helps you to build the application eventually, right? The whole app can be divided into a particular page can be divided into its XML part, which is this one, which shows the error because the Gradle has not built yet. Then comes the activity part, right? Since there are many folders in the bottom right, which is download in, right? So we will wait for it to download. Well guys, now the downloading part of the Gradle is done, right? Every error is removed, right? Now whenever you will get this page, you will be on the main activity part with its particular XML part will be opened already, right? Now you can see there is a parent of constraint layout. We will remove that and we will write a relative layout, right? You can set its background with like this, background to purple, right? And this is the text view, right? You can delete these 4 things and you can write that the gravity to this should be in the center and it should be in the center of the parent, right? The text is written in as the hello world. You can change the text's color to white and you can increase the size to 34 dp, right? So this is how you can edit, modify by adding attributes within your element. This is the elements, these are the attributes, and we have to give a particular ID to this particular text, like text 1. What if we have to create another text, right? txt text view. Then after you have to write wrap content, right? In relative layout, every element of every subclass within this child will come to the 0,0 coordinate. It is in the 0,0 coordinate, that is in the top left corner, right? Then you will write a text that is hello world 2, right? And you will give some size to it and you will write center in parent, right? So it will also come here. But what if you have to write the second text view below this? So you will write below id. You have to write the id of the first one, right? Because you have to write after this or below this. So you can see it has came below the first id. If you want to give a text color to it, text color white. So the color of that particular text has changed. You can change the text here like Rohit Singh and this to developer Geeks, right? So this is how you can change the colors of background. You can add texts, right? and this is the activity since logical part. Actually we don't have any logic for this particular theme right now, so we won't write anything, but I will let you know how you can add this particular text, how you can link this particular text in this. You have to write a text view class text view, this is the object name, and you will write text view is equal to find view by id r dot id dot text1, right? So this text1 has a particular id, so if I have to link this XML part with the Java part, I will use this line. First I will create the object, and that object will be I will find that object with this particular id, and I will enable that id here. So if I have to do any manipulation, not just in XML part but also in this logical part, so by using this object I can do that. Well, if I run this app, you can see it is running in an emulator, which is an actual mobile offered by Google, right? There are many phones. Actually I am using the Pixel 3 API 32 version. It takes a little time to get online. Well, you can see here it's installing the app. Well, bravo, the app works. Well, this is the layout where we did the XML part, right? That is the UI UX designing part. Well guys, I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to share, subscribe to our channel. Well, the next video will be on the building of a splash screen. You can view the video here. Well, this is how a splash screen works. Well, on the next video, we will see how to build this splash screen. Thank you everyone.